Fine, no.
Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. I'm your host, Max Pearlstein. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the great glass and glazing industry. Thrilled to have you back. Got a good one for you. I know I say that every month, and this one hits it as well. Before we get to that, two quick things. One, Glass Build America is coming up in November. Its registration is now open. You want to get there. You want to register. You don't want to miss the show. You don't want to miss the show. And for free entry, use the code MAXPOD25, MAXPOD 25. You'll be doing me a favor, and you're getting in for free to Glass Build America. So you definitely want to check that out. Also, huge thanks to the gang at FHC. They sponsored this episode. And while others raise prices and scale back, FHC is investing forward. Has vendor memos roll out with sweeping increases in vague market conditions. FHC is choosing a different path, expanding product lines, opening new service centers, and growing support and production teams. Instead of passing the pressure downstream, FHC is absorbing as much as possible, staying committed to competitive pricing, innovative products, and top-tier service. FHC isn't just here to sell to the industry. They're here to support it, grow with it, and lead it forward. Thank you to them, fhc-usa.com. Really appreciate their support. All right, coming up, we've got Brady Nails of MT Contracting and Mike DeFrank of Country Glass, two young guys, both interesting because they both followed their father's footsteps into this industry, and they're making their own path and doing great. I think you'll enjoy it. We cover a lot of topics between the two guys. We'll start off with Brady and with Mike, and then I'll be back on the other end with my every episode TV thoughts. So here we go, Brady Nails. Okay. On the From the Fabricator podcast, I'm thrilled to have Brady Nails with me, Senior Project Manager, MT Contracting out in Montana. You can find them online at www.mtcontracting.co, not .com, .co. So check them out, mtcontracting.co. Brady, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that .co gets everybody. If I could change one thing, I need to have a long talk with Scott about that .co instead of .com.
Absolutely. It's funny. You would think maybe .net or even .us, something different, because that .co has got to drive you up the wall.
It gets everybody to the point where I have to call attention to it every single time.
You did with me. Well, I appreciate you doing this. The best part about getting to talk to you is I know your dad pretty well. He's an incredible human. And please tell him I said hi, obviously. But I don't know that much about you other than what your dad would tell me about you. And so that's where I'm really curious. Kind of your path and where you went to school, and then how you ended up out at MT.
Yeah, so it's one of the great benefits in my life is having Rusty Nails as a father.
He's the best.
For a couple of reasons. One, for those who hadn't met him, he's a redheaded, left-handed man from Louisiana with the personality to match whatever you think of Rusty Nails. Whatever came to mind, you're probably right, and that's him. But it's definitely a lot of fun having him. I can't tell you how many meetings I'll go into or go to a random contractor or vendor, and they'll kind of look at me, tilt their head, squint their eyes, and say, "Nails, like Rusty?" And a lot of conversations about it, specifically when I was down in Texas. But
I'm sure. Keep going. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but no, I'm excited to be with you. Been a big fan of the From the Fabricator podcast and your blog for a long time.
I'm honored by that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I love podcasts in general. I think it's a great forum, and specific to our industry. As soon as I heard about it, I'd seen your blogs for years. My dad had been talking about you since I was like 10, I believe. And but I always, as soon as I found out about the podcast, been listening to it almost every single month that it comes out. So excited to be on.
Thrilled to have you on here. And before you continue, your dad, I was a young guy, and when I got to Binswanger Glass, and your dad took care of me, and he had a lot of weight. He had, he was a very powerful guy there, and so I was honored to be on his good side. And so he took very good care of me, looked out for me, and I will always be grateful to Rusty Nails. He is an American original, and you, I'm sure, are just kicking butt just the same. So let's talk about your path. You went to college and then off and running.
Yeah, so grew up with my father, and he was in Houston. Ben Swinger had moved him from Houston over to the Carolinas to run that territory for them, the Carolinas and Virginia. So about 6 years old, moved over to Charlotte. Immediately, if you know, obviously know my dad, and anybody that does, he's really passionate about me and my sister. Loved taking us to work. We went to work with him, or went on work trips with him my entire life. Going to shops, going back to the corporate office, or down to Mexico from time to time during the Vitro days. But yeah, we moved over to Charlotte at a young age, and because of that, and because of my dad's style of management and teams, he treated all of his employees like family for a long time. So if people were coming into town, they'd stay at the house with us. It was just a very, hey, I'm here to work. I want to do that, but I want your family to feel included. I want my family to feel included. So grew up going to the different branches, playing in shower displays, probably playing a little bit too much on some curtain wall sticks that were out in the shop, staying away from brakes, staying away from upcut saws, all that kind of fun stuff. But did that all the way growing up. But with that note, my dad had his role with the company was area manager, regional manager at different times, or VP of sales at the end of his career with them. But for most of his career, most of what he did was support the local branches, the branches under his control, their business plans, their personnel, their strategies, their issues. So growing up, all I would do was just hear his phone calls or go to his meetings or talk to these folks. And I heard the thousands and thousands of hours of these very similar problems and conversations about running a glass business from the installer side and glass shop from the installer side. But he was, so it was weird because on the one hand, ton of exposure to the business, the industry. I grew up and I was shocked when I'd meet somebody that didn't know about the glass business, just because I was like, oh man, this is all I know. This is amazing. But he was very adamant that he did not want my sister and I to come follow him into the glass business.
Did not know that. Okay. I did not know that.
Incredibly adamant about it. I mean, it wasn't, when I graduated high school and went to college, it wasn't even in the cards. I don't know that what he was like, hey, I don't want this for you guys. But went off to college, went to undergrad at UNC Charlotte, backed out of going to LSU about 3 days before move-in. Went downstairs to, dating a little girl from high school and wanted to stay in town. So I was like, hey, I think I'm going to not go to LSU and stay in town.
Gotcha.
Of course, that ended 6 months later.
Oh, gosh.
But I'd promised him, I was like, hey, I will get you an LSU degree eventually. So later on, I went back, did my MBA and construction management degree from there. But did undergrad at UNC Charlotte. Had a lot of fun there. Turned a 3-year degree into a 5-year degree. So definitely got some enjoyment.
Yes.
Got out of school, and really the plan was law school. I had done a lot of debate in high school and had some pretty good success at that. And that was always the thought process. Then I looked at the bill for law school, and then I got cold feet. Went to my dad and said, hey, I'd like to take a year just to kind of figure out what I want to do. Do I want to commit to law school? That's kind of what I always wanted to do, but I'm just not sure I'm ready for this financial commitment. Through college, I'd actually worked part-time for Ben Swinger. And then my first summer in college, my dad shipped me off. He was like, hey, I got a project up here. You got to work, and you're going to go spend the next 12 weeks on a job site, slinging curtain wall, slinging some glass. And I had a lot of fun up in Washington, D.C. Just really got in there from an installer piece. So I did some part-time work throughout college. Felt pretty comfortable with it. Went for a year. And like the saying goes that we all say in the glass business, if they work in it for a year, they're going to do it for a lifetime.
You bet.
So a little more than a decade later, still doing the glass business. Really enjoyed it. Kind of fell in love with the project side, less than the service side. Enjoy the service portion, but the contracts, I like the projects. I like the pursuit of the job, the completion of it. The classic line when you're driving around with anybody in construction or glazers and, oh, that building right there. Yes, I did that glass.
Yes.
You see that checkerboard up there? Yeah, I know exactly what happened to cause that. So really kind of fell in love with it. Decided to really pursue the contract piece inside. Went back to school, got a degree in construction management, and then later on MBA as well. And worked with Ben Swinger for about 12 years, and Did a few things. Started out in the branch base, staying on
Right.
the contract side. Ran our service department for a little bit, and then kind of got tapped on the shoulder to come work for the corporate side.
Right.
Got to work for a few different CEOs, doing special projects, and then eventually regional manager, regional director, running the Texas division, the contract division for a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great place. Love the Ben Swinger group. There's a great team over there.
Oh
Still
yeah.
a lot of fun. But yeah, that's kind of what got me to into the glass business. 2023 made a little change. I asked the wife where she wanted to move to, and I was like, "You want to stay in Texas?" And she said, "Hell no." It was way too hot for that Pittsburgh girl. And had the opportunity to look at Montana. Found Scott Gearhart, our founder, president, and CEO. And we really hit it off. I liked his business, what he had done with the business over the last 10 years. And the wife was like, Montana sounds amazing. I was like, man, I am not north of the Mason-Dixon line. That sounds way too cold.
Yeah.
But we've been here for about 2 years and had a lot of fun. It's been a great experience. A lot different winters, much
Yes.
more enjoyable summers. But it's been an exciting place to get up here to MT.
I'm happy for you. Happy for you. I did not know your wife's from Pittsburgh, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, so you've got good taste. So,
I can pick them.
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
You
So
ever do the
let's
hot dog shop over in Pittsburgh?
the original hot dog. Yo,
Yeah,
absolutely,
uh,
absolutely.
best,
That's
best
that's
hot
a
dog in my
staple. That's a staple there. So
I love going back there and getting into it. So
I'm glad. I'm glad you get back to town. And again, you're out in the mountains in Montana, and she grew up in Pittsburgh, where it's all hills and mountains anyway. So it's somewhat similar. So that makes some sense. So, but let's talk about MT because it was funny. I was talking to somebody about I was having you on the podcast and noted you're from MT, and they're like, "Whoa, what's MT?" And they were kind of weren't really aware. And MT is a lot bigger than people may think because you're in Montana. I believe you have a place in Minnesota as well. So talk to me about MT. What do you guys do, and what you cover out there?
yeah, so MT contracting started about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this past December. Started in Scott's living room over in Whitefish, Montana.
Okay.
His father had a glass shop up in the greater in northwest corner, the Whitefish area, Kalispell area, for a while. So he had some exposure to the glass business, had been on the general contracting side, decided that he really wanted to open up his own company and glass shop. So focused primarily on commercial glazing. So it's almost exclusive what we do. We have been growing our service division and our
Okay.
residential window sales recently, but typically we're in that commercial glazing. So we grew it in 2014. In 2016, he relocated it to Bozeman, Montana.
Okay.
About 2018, we opened up the Minnesota office. So
Okay.
in the last 11 years, we've been able to grow from just him by himself to about 35 full-time employees.
Nice.
We have 2 locations right outside of Minneapolis over in Hastings, and the other one here in Bozeman, Montana, which is what we like to refer to as our world headquarters
Nice.
for our little team. But yeah, so we carry a large geographic region. So we go Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Minnesota is our main footprint there.
Okay.
Pursuing public work, what commercial work, and there is as well. But public work and commercial work. One of the main reasons we relocated to Bozeman was the Big Sky ski market. We've had a lot of success doing a lot of commercial projects up in the ski resorts, both for Big Sky Resort or the Yellowstone Club and their capital partners behind them. And a few years ago when I came on board, one of the things Scott and I had kind of addressed as we were looking through the business was, hey, the company's been very successful in these ski resorts here in Montana. Why don't we take a look further away from Montana? People keep coming into town. Why don't we see, we have a pretty good track record and understand the challenges. So we've been growing a lot more in Colorado recently on those projects. It's a little different, just understanding the dynamics of that commercial project scale, but with high-end residential demands for both performance and just the finish work on those. Of course, us in the glass business, we're that exterior trade that's still, almost a finished trade. We don't ever get the tag finished trade, but our product is finished. So it's we've had a lot of those successes, understanding the challenges with the weather, understanding how to deal with the logistics. It forces us to be a lot more pre-job planning, a lot bigger focus on that, both the pre-construction side of the sales and the pre-mobilization work on the projects. It's very hard to be profitable on a job when it's 2 hours away, negative 30 degrees and blowing snow, if you don't have all your T's crossed and I's dotted. And one of the reasons I came to MT was to learn from Scott and get a little stronger at that project management role, and understanding and just the better ins and outs of managing the construction projects. I kind of got to leapfrog that step in my career at Ben Swinger, and really wanted to come back and shore up that foundation. But for us, a lot of our products are, on one thing that's really exciting is we have a project that's at the top of Lone Peak, which is the top of Big Sky. It's at 11,136 feet above sea level.
Okay.
Very peak of the property, highest point in Big Sky. And we are putting in a structural glass box, material by some of the curtain wall by Conair. A lot of it's structurally glazed, in the cassette system from Biorcon. We also partnered with Finner Reifer out of Europe to kind of help guide us and make sure we weren't stubbing our toe on the project. But we actually just took the helicopters up and flew up all that glass up to the top of the mountain this Friday and Saturday. We're hoping to have some neat project photos to show the world here in the next few weeks. So it's going to actually be glass floor, so you're going to be able to step out about 8 feet past the mountain, and you're going to see about a 10,000 foot drop right there, 8,000 foot drop.
Wow.
Speaking. So it's pretty. That's a fun one that you don't get to see down in Texas or the Carolinas in the South. It's just something that would never cross my mind.
No, you don't see that very often. And please, when you get job pictures of that, send that to me so I can put it in my project of the week in the blog, because I think people would love to see that setup. So please do, if you're allowed to. I know sometimes projects like that, the owner doesn't want anything. So if you can get a picture or two, that'd be great.
I'll gladly send it over to you in the next couple of days.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, so I've got Brady Nails with me, Senior Project Manager, MT Contracting. Find them online at www.mtcontracting.co. If you caught the beginning of the episode, you heard about the .co, so mtcontracting.co. This was a real fascinating one for me because, when I do my speeches throughout the country, I inevitably talk about how there are certain areas like Montana that seemingly are a little bit insulated from the various turmoil and strife that we might have in the Midwest where I'm at, or in the Northeast. But you're there. I mean, so how is the world there? How's business? Are you guys caught up in some of this, some of the craziness, or are you really actually insulated from the overall rest of the world?
Yeah. So first off, every time I've heard you say that specific to Montana on a few different episodes recently, and every time I cringe. I'm like, oh no, Max, keep it our hidden secret, please.
Sorry. Yeah.
No. But to your point, you were dead on the nail. Dead on the nail for it. The market here has been pretty well insulated. We haven't seen much of a slowdown in estimating or project awards, both in Montana, the Wyoming market. We're pretty heavy in the Jackson area of Wyoming. It's only 4 hours from Bozeman, so we cover that a lot. We're almost our three main operations would be Minneapolis, Bozeman, and Jackson. And those three, specifically to Montana and Wyoming, we haven't seen much of a slowdown at all.
Good.
The part of that is just when there's only 500,000 people in Wyoming and 1 million people in Montana, what's going to get built needed to get built. So,
right.
And there's not a ton of competition is for the larger work. We have a few competitors in the area that we bump up heads with,
sure.
And which is good for everybody. But yeah, no, we've been very insulated. I've talked to a lot of folks in different parts of the country, and I've definitely seen those downturns. Seeing it both on the indexes, on the reporting, but also just anecdotally. I'm going to make some people jealous. We just haven't had that experience.
Good.
We've been very lucky. we do think we're going to see a little bit of a dip coming up in the next 6 months. But we've taken a lot of steps. There was a ton of activity the last 2 or 3 years. One of the lessons I learned from Rusty and Scott preaches the same line as well, and that's, hey, look long term for your sales. Let's go and get projects 2, 3, 4 years out. We struck while the iron was hot the last 2 years, and our backlog is pretty well secured through 2028 at this point.
Super.
And we're just trying to fill in small projects and projects that fit for us at the right profitability over those next couple of years. But we look we feel very comfortable with our position, and we're just hoping that our backlog is secure enough that we can keep that long-term outlook on the projects. And
love it.
One thing about MT, as we've done in the last 10 years, only been around for 10 years, which might say more about the state of Montana, but we have participated and installed glass on the 5 largest construction projects in Montana's history. And we got the next 2 in our backlog as well. So it's been very short time period in the last 10 years. We've made a pretty impact over here in Montana.
Very nice, very nice. And again, you being a past Texan, Dallas is still doing well, but Houston is really slow. And so it's got to be nice for you to escape that pressure that those poor folks in Houston are going through right now.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've heard that it's a little tighter down in Houston, that South Texas market. Dallas, as Dallas feels like you'd have to take a fire extinguisher to slow it down over there. But no, it was definitely one of the draws to Montana, was getting out of this ultra competitive, lower margin business, or just by default. That was definitely an attraction to coming up here. But yeah, that South Texas and even in the Carolinas, still a lot of context over there. A little bit slower than it used to be. I think it'll bounce back though. It's secular, and that's what.
That's our world. It is, and we are resilient. I say it over and over again. So I break up each podcast with a fun question, and you're getting really probably one of the more original fun questions that I've ever asked, because I know you're an LSU guy. I'm a huge sports fan. I assume you're a sports fan as well. And LSU on the football side is known for a lot of things, Joe Burrow and so on, but they're known for some unbelievable wide receivers. And so I'm curious, you being an LSU guy, there's 3 wide receivers that are pretty much well known as LSU guys: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. Who's your favorite? Who's the best of the 3?
So I would have added one more fourth to it.
Hit me. Yeah.
That would have been OBJ and Jarvis Landry.
Landry. Yeah.
That combination between Odell and Landry was phenomenal. Early 2010s. That was fantastic. It's this. We could completely morph this into an LSU football podcast.
Easy. Yes, I know I could. Yeah.
But main thing for me, OBJ and the Landry years, I can't look at them without thinking that age-old question: if we only had a quarterback. I mean, for my first 25 years, it was just me constantly saying, how can we have this plethora of running backs, from Leonard Fournette to so many different guys, Geis, and so many wide receivers, defensive backs, over and over, and we just couldn't get the quarterback. So that when I hear OBJ, my first thought is just, that was wasted years when we just couldn't capitalize. So to me, my favorites is that 2019 year, Chase and Jefferson, because it was like an out-of-body experience. I went from, we're going to run the ball 3 yards and a pound of dust, a cloud of dust, to, hey, we're just going to throw this thing 6,000 miles or 6,000 yards and have score 50 points every time. So that was the most peaceful LSU year of my life. I got the privilege of going to the semifinals and the finals.
Nice.
The open for 5 or 6 games that year. It was so much fun. So forever, Chase and Jefferson are going to be the top of that list. But OBJ and Landry and the others that preceded them, they always throws it back and says, "What could have been?"
No doubt.
I was watching those Crimson Tide guys just keep racking up trophies every year.
That's tough, and they had a wealth of success at their quarterback position. But Joe Burrow changed things, and good year from Eddie O, Coach O, and you put it all together. Congrats, you got to see it. That's great.
Oh yeah, I mean the Jaden Daniels. I mean now we're switching into gears. I'm still trying to like reorient myself to the new LSU life. We went
Yeah,
Burrow, Heisman. Last Heisman for LSU was Billy Cannon in like
that's right.
59.
You're right.
So it went Burrow, then Jaden Daniels, and now all the talk this year coming up for Nussmeier as a leading candidate, top 5 pick in the draft, potential Heisman. I'm just like, wait, what happened here? And I give a lot of credit back to Coach O. I mean, that year where he came in, the rah-rah didn't end the way everybody wanted it to. But the guy can recruit and he can impassion a group. I mean, I still have some buddies that are Tiger fans, and we all still watch those hype videos from 2019. They just firing on all cylinders. Edo knew how to energize a crowd, energize a team, and he was the best at that.
I love yeah, exactly. I love it, but I'm sure you and your buddies just go Tigers, like he would say every time. So we will morph into an LSU podcast if I don't switch here. So Brady Nails is with me, Senior Project Manager, MT Contracting. Find them online at mtcontracting, all one word, .co. No M on that, .co. I preach a lot, and since you listen to some of my stuff and read some of my stuff, I'm always trying to figure out how to get youth into our industry. It was kind of built in you, and it was funny that your dad didn't want you in the business and wanted you to find something else, but you got into it. But how do we get I know we're trying a bunch of different things in our industry with workforce development and so on, but how do we, what's your ideas? Well, how do we get over the top here to attract more Brady Nails who are coming out of high school who want to be in this business, or even coming out of trade schools or college, with a construction management degree? How do we attract them? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think one, it's an area that I'm really, really passionate about. I think from my time at Ben Swinger, it was the great thing about Ben Swinger, and from like a learning perspective for me, was I always looked at it as, hey, at the time we had about 60 locations, 50, 60 locations. And you had all of these little experiments, and you could see, like, if somebody was like, oh, I have this idea. And I was like, well, why don't you go find out if one of our 60 places is trying that? It was a very decentralized management style for a long, long time, with significant pros to that and significant cons.
Sure.
But you did end up with these natural experiments, and without fail, almost every time I'd go in the shops, they say, hey, we need more younger people. And at the time they go and look at me and they say, hey, I need somebody that's your age. How do we do that? And it was very simple, is, hey guys, the people are out there. You just need to explain the opportunity to the folks. Now, we can talk in a second about how to get to those, how to find those pools of candidates and people. Yeah. But the bigger thing to me is just understanding the sales pitch and the opportunity for folks. I've had a lot of success bringing in people without glass or construction backgrounds, both into the field or into the office, and estimating, project management, customer service, administrative roles. Mm-hmm. You don't need that glass background to get into our business, but you do need to explain the opportunity. And when you explain the opportunity is, hey guys, you have an older generation that's exiting the space. You're going to have this massive vacuum. If you come in here and you do a good job, or even, sometimes not so great a job, you're going to have a lot of inherent opportunities with a very fast track. And I think there's some misnomers about compensation in our business and our industry.
Yes.
You just need to be able to explain to people, hey, this is your career path. I can bring you in here and I can get you to here. And this is what that timeline looks like. And everybody that I've ever spoken to, as long as you can give them that track, if you can say, this is where you're starting, these are going to be some of the steps in between, and this is where you're going to end up, and explain to them about the drain of folks that we're going to be losing and have lost. I haven't talked to very many people that when you gave them all of that information, they don't go, well, how can I do this? What do I need to learn to do? Right. And we have one of the things I love about a lot of what you do is preaching the resources that are available to the industry. It can never have been easier than the last 5 years to onboard somebody without experience and teach them about the business. It's not about getting somebody in the door and turning them into a master glazer or a senior PM or an estimator in a month or 2 months or 6 months. But hey, can I get them in the door? Can I utilize my glass class or the NGA resources to teach them the basic vocabulary so that they are functional and contributing to the team? And then it was something that my dad always stressed growing up was, hey, if I hire a new project manager estimator, it's 6 months or a year before I'm seeing a real return on them. And I think we all have to kind of understand that expectation and probably stretch that out a little bit more.
Yeah.
The more challenging piece, though, is to bring in newer or younger people with less experience. It's the real driver there is I can't put a square peg in a round hole. I can't say, the old days of, hey, I have this PM, here's your job folder. I'm going to give it to you. We're going to call it a kickoff meeting for about 5 minutes. Here's your folder. And 6 months later, you hand me the folder back and say, hey, archive this.
Right.
Those times are, if they haven't passed, they're in the 11th hour.
Yes.
And I think a big portion is a glass shop. No matter if you're really small or very large, you need to structure your business so that you can bring in people that can help with tasks and items and portions of it without having the expectation that they do the entire job right away. It's just, you're going to keep banging your head against the wall. You're going to keep hiring folks. And then you're going to say, well, shoot, they couldn't do the job. Or, man, that guy was really smart. Or that lady was really a go-getter, but she just didn't have the experience. Well, guys, we had to change the structure here and set them up for success. If you'll make a little bit of structural changes, move your responsibilities around a little bit, I think the most common way that I saw in the industry for onboarding somebody new or with not much experience was, hey, Brady, Max is over here. Max knows what he's doing. Go sit beside Max and just soak it up.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for that. And I still have interns or assistant project managers that I do it with, but that can't be your training solution.
Correct.
That's not a strategy. That is saying, hey, I'm hoping for osmosis.
Yeah.
And osmosis is for water, guys. It's not for learning skills. So I think moving past that, utilizing the resources, but even if you turn the keys over, I've watched people do it before. Oh, I got my glass class. I'm going to give it to this person. Hey, they 2 weeks later, they finish the course. Oh, they're great. Like, guys, we introduced the vocabulary. Right. Yeah. They now know the terminology. They can speak with you. Now it's your job to take these classes and go figure out ways to verify that they picked up on the skills. But yeah, so I think that's a really important first part of it, of trying to solve it. Is it really has nothing to do with the candidate themselves or the sales pitch. It's, hey, did you structure your business to accept this?
Yeah.
Because if not, I can go get you 20 people. It's not going to help you. You're going to just keep hurting people in, and they're going to keep failing, and you're going to ask yourself why. Or,
Correct.
Man, that was money. I got to go get that person with 20 years experience, instead of saying, hey, I got to structure this business to be successful.
Yeah.
But to your point on like where they are out there, a few different success stories that I could talk about. One, depending on what you're looking for, if the goal is to solve for the field, I really, the biggest piece, it's not a short-term play. It's not something like, hey, if you said I'm in desperate need of glazers and I can't run my trucks tomorrow and my tickets are 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out, I would not recommend that's the solution to those. But if you're like looking at your body or your roster and you're saying, hey, I'm going to have a problem in 6 months or 2 years or 3 years, the first step would be, you really need to start looking at your team like that. And from a roster standpoint, like you said with sport, I mean, you really got to take that mindset of look at the roster and say, where am I going to be at in a year or two? What if, somebody offers a couple more dollars now or they want to move? And to start correcting for that, I think that's where the trade schools and the high schools really come into play. It's very simple. I've done this many places, geographies, locations, and companies. Go just have somebody take 30 minutes, look up all your technical schools in the area, spend another 30 minutes making some phone calls saying, hey, when are your career fairs happening?
Right.
These are quick conversations. They are going to be so excited to speak to a company. They're going to jump at it. beyond those trade schools, I'm blanking on their name, Max. I apologize, but there are a bunch of these groups out there that focus on veterans, where their
Yep.
career fairs for veterans coming home.
Absolutely.
And a lot of those locations, especially if you're in an area with a military base, it's very easy from an employer standpoint. You can sign it up, you can put your name down. You're going to end up with 20 or 30 interviews in one day. You can go meet these folks. You're working with people that just want to trade.
Yeah.
Every time I've done that, I've done it 3 or 4 times. You meet people that are just coming out of the military. They're looking for something. They don't know anything about the glass business, but they do understand an opportunity in front of them. They have almost every time they have a great work ethic. They're passionate, and they're by and large, not to paint with a broad brush, but they're team players, which is what every business needs. So I would definitely, for that longer term glazer spot, I would look at your military veterans. There's a lot of programs out there. I'll try to find some and email them to you that we've used in the past. But those are very simple for you. That's a one day where you're getting interviews with professionals. It's a little different than the career fairs or the high school fairs. But high schools, about 2 months ago, we went over to high schools, brought in some interns. We brought in 1 intern from high school, 2 from our local college, Montana State, go Bobcats.
Yes.
And the had a lot of success there. Anytime we've done a career fair, be it at Ben Swinger or MT, I don't think I've ever done one where we didn't get a candidate that we wanted to bring on as an intern. And even if you're looking at it saying, well, an intern doesn't solve all my problems, go ahead and bring that intern in. You're going to see a young person come into your business. They're going to look at it with a little different eyes. And really important to that is it's going to teach you if your onboarding process is good.
That's right.
Because the younger generations, they want a stronger onboarding process. It's a weak part for me. I'm still a little bit too trial by fire. But it'll teach you, just bringing in some interns, even for a month or two, you're going to see where some of your weaknesses are and have conversations with them. Be like, hey, you got a friend. You want to do this long term. Most internships that we've had, be it Ben Swinger or here, at the end, most of those candidates have come to work for us for a year or two.
Nice.
As a PM or an estimator. And I really think that just comes back to setting like those expectations and those steps in their career.
Right.
It's not them not knowing about the glass business or knowing what the career progression is not their problem. That's our problem. And we got to be in our conversation. It's not, hey, do you want to be a glazer? If I'm talking to someone about being a glazer, it's, hey, these are the steps to teach you the skills to be a glazer. You're going to have a great income here. You're going to make a good living. And if you want to do other paths, this is how we can get you into project management or estimating or other, or sales if it's on a service business. It's about looking at your business and trying to sell that path.
Sure.
A lot of it comes down to if you can get into the habit of promoting from within, from the field, you're going to start getting more and more folks. Once you progress them, you can get them in the door, then move them into the next seat. And you know what? That person, that guy or girl, is going to say, "Hey, I got a friend that could do this," and it's just about getting that foot in the door. But I do think one of the important parts is one, looking at your business structure, making some changes, and understanding, hey, if I can't have the same expectation and structures for a candidate with 20 years experience in the field or in the office, and have and put a person with 0 experience or very little experience and expect them to succeed. And that's a reality that we all have to accept. And I think we're getting there. I think we're getting better at it. But that if people say they can't make it work or they're having a bad experience with the younger generations, I would push back and just say, hey, it's probably your structure. It's probably not the candidate or the employee. It could be. It's probably your structure, and your expectations aren't aligning with their skill set. It's that would be the biggest piece of it. I think the other side is, the podcast. The podcast here, the NGA, getting folks out to understand that the industry is bigger. I think we'll talk about it in a few minutes, but we're a very fragmented industry. And that's a real detriment, and it can make you feel like everybody can feel on an island and that you're suffering alone. And that was one of the cool things about Ben Swinger is I could see all these people on little islands. Yeah. And I'd be like, no, go over here. Go. This, Billy Bob has that answer. He had that problem 2 weeks ago. We've solved this. You don't have to solve it again. And I think the associations, being in Texas, the TGA's group is
tremendous.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Both the North and South Texas groups
Yep.
are both really strong. The Carolinas, we didn't have as much on the Glass Association, or at least I wasn't as involved, but we had the Subcontractor Association.
Yes.
We had the Association of General Contractors, AGC, and the ABM as well. And getting the groups to understand that, hey, there are, yes, you're in the glass business, but really you're in the built environment. And in this industry, we want you to come into the built environment via glass. But I'm, as one of the things, I'll borrow a phrase from a former mentor and boss, Blake Hancock, CEO of Ben Swinger. He always stressed, hey, I want somebody to come in. I don't need them to take me for the next 5 to 10 years. Let them come in, hit me a home run or two, or hit a couple singles and doubles, and they can move on and go and do their next place. I'll win, they'll win, and achieve it. And I think kind of setting that expectation, and I think bringing folks in, showing them the built environment and how, hey, we'd love to keep you in the glass industry forever, but this is still a springboard to other places in construction. If we're not your end home. Now we both know if we get them for 1 year, we got them for life. So
once you get in, you don't leave. We both know that. And I think, you made a ton of good points. I love the roster review aspect. It's really the first time I've really heard that. I think that's great. You take a look at what you have and where your needs may be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and, and preparing for it versus just every day being kind of hair on fire sort of thing. So, and the fact that we are a very vast industry and getting involved in things. I know you spoke at the Glazing Executive Forum 1 year. You've always been involved, whether it's TGA or Haga and down in Houston, whatever the case may be. So a lot there. And I think most people who watch and listen to this podcast, are kind of on board. It's just trying to get some of the others to get going. And then obviously having the right culture, and part of that culture is the training, the understanding, and so on. So you hit all of that. So I think that's good takeaways for everybody who's listening. I'm liking it. A couple more questions for you, though. I know you're a busy man. I got Brady Nails with me, Senior Project Manager, MT Contracting. See their work at mtcontracting.co. I'm curious. You mentioned earlier about Montana and about some of these projects you're doing. What are the hot products for you right now in the streets of Montana, Minnesota, Wyoming? What's hot for you guys?
So, a couple of things. When I moved up to Montana, it was number one. Scott brought me up in the summertime, and that was the
smart.
Yes. Yeah, it was a super smart way because it completely fooled me. I was walking around the streets of Bozeman, and I was like, "Man, this is wonderful."
Yep.
4 months, or probably about 2 months later, when it started snowing, I probably would have had a different experience or a different opinion. But no, the climate up here. So for me, coming from the South into this, it was my real. And Ben Swinger's footprint was the Southeast predominantly.
Yes.
They'd venture a little bit. Over time in the Vitro days, it was a lot bigger footprint, obviously, but that Southeast. So I was pretty isolated, or not isolated, but I didn't have a lot of exposure to those high performing products. Up here for us, a lot of second, third, and fourth homes that we're a part of in Montana. With that is a certain expectation. And those high performing products, a lot of European systems. I've gotten a lot more involved with Raynor, Schuco, various other product lines. Our Aluprof is a great partner that we've been working with. A gentleman named Dennis Hazagen with Aluprof. But the learning more about the European systems, which on paper, like my first look at them was, oh, well, these are just American. This is just my traditional aluminum systems. Going through it and understanding, oh, you guys have really keyed in on the thermal performance aspect, and really just frankly blow a lot of the American products out of the water from a performance standpoint. So I wouldn't say that that's hot. It's the necessity here. That's the product lines that I had to learn the most about coming up here. And the bigger piece, there's a cost element, obviously, to those European lines, but there's a lot of applications that I think could be used around the country. These are a lot more vendors and systems that could get leveraged. Schuco's had varying degrees of participation over time in the U.S. They had they've changed up their systems quite a few times, and their market strategy. But Raynars is another great product. Aluprof, and that's just a Unilux. So many more. On my bucket list is to go over to the Glass Techs and the glass show in Europe. Really want to get over there and see some of these. It seems it's very exciting.
Yeah, BAU. It's usually in the beginning of the year, and it goes all over Germany. Where Glass Tech's always in Dusseldorf. BAU, with the window systems that you're talking about, you would have a field day there. And, you'd enjoy Glass Tech too. It's definitely a little bit more skewing to the equipment side, but you'd enjoy BAU, and you'd be like a kid in a candy store. I have a feeling, so I like that.
Plans for early 2026. Then.
Yep, exactly. Take a look at that, and if you need any advice, I'm here for you. I'm cracking up over Scott bringing you up in the summer where it's 75 degrees and no humidity, and you're probably like, hey, July, I haven't broken a sweat yet. Where July, anywhere in Texas, you step outside, you're soaked by 8:15 in the morning. So what a move by him. That's clutch.
He knew exactly what he was doing on that. I tease him about it every winter, especially on the cold days. I'm like, man, I cannot believe you tricked me into doing this in Smart man.
Smart man. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Being a younger guy, and I'm very curious on this one. I keep saying I'm very curious because I love picking your brain here. AI. And you're actually the first guest I'm asking this question to, and it's a question I really should get into my rotation. What's your take on AI with the glass and glazing business? You see something there? Don't see something there? What's your feel for that?
Yeah, so for a variety of reasons, I mean, there's a ton of examples I could use for it, but I'm always looking. I feel like our industry, because it's so fragmented, we don't do a great job of leveraging resources. I remember I think it was one of my first times part-time in college, and this team I was working with, they were like, oh, I don't know how to solve for this. And I was like, well, I think Excel Online had just come out. And I was like, well, guys, you can just move it right here and be done. Right. And there's little itty bitty pickups of, sorry, I have a black lab that's
all good.
Get in the lab. But so I'm always interested in those tech pieces, not even the massive changes or the massive lifts, but just small little wins, right? Yeah. And singles and doubles still win ball games.
Yep.
And so I think one thing about the AI, and I was excited to chat with you about it. The one thing about AI is I think we need as an industry to kind of set expectations of there's not going to be this product that completely changed our, all takeoffs are now complete for you.
Right.
Oh, you don't need to go look for what changed on the Windows schedule. Just throw it in the system and it's going to tell you the answer. I don't see those big wins being the big mover. I think it's going to be the little wins, the little moves, from small things like, hey, guys, you can have ChatGPT. You can create a project in ChatGPT, upload all the specifications and project schedules for all of your jobs at one time. And now instead of going to look up that, you can start asking it to analyze just your project specifications, schedules, product documentations, and leveraging that tool just as a little minor bump. Now, when next time your PM or estimators, they're looking at a bid, drop your specs in there and say, hey, break me out everything. Go find everything that mentions glass. Now, you could have done the control find in Bluebeam or your PDF and do it that way. But if you say, hey, go show me what other trades are referencing glass or what other trades are referencing the aluminum finish. Is there another aluminum finish? And start really using this giant tool and let it drill and focus in on your little project. I've just in the last few months, I've started seeing some pretty impressive gains just from a time perspective, organization, taking that and saying, hey guys, write me up a little, executive summary for all the glass types on this project for me to turn over to a vendor, or show them a format that their vendors like and have it produce it for you yourself. Those are little wins. What I would say more, the one thing that I'm constantly on the lookout for in the AI space is, and I know they're going to tackle it, and it's getting closer and closer, one company in particular I keep monitoring just to check their pulse every few months is Toggle AI. Don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Yep.
They've made some strides recently. Their price point and what they can accomplish, it's Bluebeam on steroids, much quicker, much faster for you. But they're trying to catch up on the trades.
Yeah.
So they're from 3 or 4 years ago, they've already pretty much mastered flooring and mastered some of the painting, some of the accessories and toiletry items, the Division 10 specs. They're getting really close in the Division 8. And I think in the next year, I would expect Toggle AI to be kind of up there. But the tool that I would really look for people to kind of go to, and the TED, your talk with Ted
Guthrie AI, absolutely.
I'm actually meeting with him in just a couple hours.
Wonderful.
But I think that's a different approach that people really need to pay attention to. And if people wanted to look it up, there's this old story from the 1700s in Europe, and it's called the Mechanical Turk. And it was this life-size chessboard that some European queen wanted. And back in, I think, 1750s, 60s, 70s, somewhere around there, they had this chessboard, and all around Europe, people were talking about, hold up, they've made this device that can play chess. And it was beating all these great chess players across Europe. Well, we know they didn't have computers yet. So what was it? There was just a person sitting in the Mechanical Turk. But they had made it look like it was a robot controlling everything. And I think that's kind of the expectation we need to set for AI. It's, hey, guys, it's not that you're going to get this one solution that overpowers it. It's, hey, how can I leverage this tool and this tool to give the reflection or the perspective to the outside that it's been automated, but it's still Brady and Max in the background saying, oh, go click this, but using these to make us 10% faster, 20% faster, 5% faster. And sooner than later, you're going to look around and say, oh man, I am much better than I was 6 months ago, but you did incrementally. And for the AI space, I don't see like a specific tool. I think Toggle is going to get there down the road. I think there's another one as well, but that one I'm really excited about. But I think, to me, that's the approach that I always, whenever I think about AI, I think back to that Mechanical Turk situation. And I think if we all kind of said, hey, let's stop trying to look for the silver bullet and just go for the quick wins, we're going to be a little bit better off long term.
For sure. And I'm glad you're meeting with Ted. He's a good man, and I'll be very curious what your thoughts are when you're done with him. So let me know.
We've already engaged a little bit with him, and I will just tell this to your audience. You're making a mistake not calling up Ted. The man can solve your problems.
It's a good man. I'm sure he appreciates that. So have a good talk with him. And I don't think there's a podcast in the world that covered glazing in Montana, LSU football, and 1750s history with a Mechanical Turk. So there's no podcast anybody could listen to anywhere on Apple or Spotify that covers that. We had that right here. Brady, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. Brady Nails, Senior Project Manager, MT Contracting. Check them out, mtcontracting.co. My friend, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I look forward to seeing you, hopefully in person in Glassfield. I know you've been a busy guy. Come to Orlando. Remember that humid heat that you used to have in Texas. It'll be a good memory for you. But come to Orlando in November. I hope I get to see you there. But thank you so much for doing this.
Moving into Orlando made it so much harder to sell my wife. That's so much more difficult to sell her on that. All you did was drive my cost up from a plane ticket and hotel room to now I got to get Disney World passes. And
yes,
all
you
kinds
do.
Of
Yes, you do.
I'll see you just for a few short months. That's going to be
wonderful.
A lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it.
Hey glazers and fabricators, FHC, the frameless hardware company, is here to support your business. In addition to offering a complete selection of glazing tools and supplies to get the job done right, we design, engineer, and manufacture a comprehensive offering of frameless shower door systems, heavy glass doors, aluminum entrances and storefronts, architectural railings, transaction and display hardware, privately owned and American-made. FHC prioritizes you, the customer. You now have a choice. Visit fhc-usa.com.
Okay. I'm thrilled to have Mike DeFrank with me, Director of Business Development at Country Glass, which some of you may not realize yet. You can find them online at countryglassdfw.com. Mike, I'm thrilled to finally get to know you a little bit better. Thanks for doing the podcast.
No, I mean, it's a pleasure to be here, honestly. Like it's sounds a little cliche, but it is surreal. I'm a fan, so it's cool to be on the pod for sure.
Well, the feeling is likewise. And, you and I, our paths have crossed a bunch of times. But the one thing, because our paths usually cross at a trade show or at a
Mhm.
TGA meeting, we get like a minute, sort of thing.
Right, right.
So now I finally get to kind of dig into the background and, pick your brain for the next, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so. And so it really starts with your past, where you're born, grew up, your journey to today at Country Glass.
Yeah, no, okay. So I mean, this can take a lot of twists and turns, but I'll try and summarize the best I can.
No problem.
So born in Dallas, Texas, live in Waxahachie, have pretty much my most of my life since like fourth grade. So pretty much my whole life. Um, Wanted to be a physical therapist. That's where I wanted to go. When I first got into like the working world,
Yeah.
started to go to college for that. Went back to re-enroll in some classes and it wasn't working out. And then I was like, Dad, I need a real job. So Dad, being the industry guy that he is, I mean, he had, back from when he was in the Guard up in Illinois, he co-owned a business with the Hakes brothers called Hakes Glass.
Gotcha.
They owned a furniture shop. He was competing against them when he worked for a company, I think called Universal Glass and Carpet. So they were competing on carpet and flooring. And then they were like, hey, you're pretty good at glass. You want to come start a business with us? So he did that for a while. Um, there's how Met had a part of his journey. They were calling on him. He got an opportunity when I think they were acquired by Vistawall. He worked for Vistawall for years, US Aluminum for years, came back to Texas. And then I was born, I think at that time he was working for Texas Wall, or actually, I'm sorry, that one was Accurate Systems. So
Hmm.
Dad's been around the block anyway. So it
Yeah.
was just kind of like, it was destined to be, I guess.
In the blood.
Tried to fight it.
Yep.
So I started really more on the manufacturing side. I went to go work for Trainer Glass. So I was working in the plant.
Okay.
You started on a saw, nothing special, pretty low man on the totem pole. Learning how to fabricate unitized panels here and there. This was like 2006, seven. So of
Okay.
course, like the economy was getting a little wild.
Yeah.
Lost a couple jobs in the backlog, got laid off. That was just horrible because we just had our first child. We were a young family. It was
Oof.
just heartbreaking. Called
Yeah.
Dad. It was like, Dad, who's hiring? He's like,
Yeah.
Joe Wilkinson over at Arch Aluminum. Give him a call.
Yeah.
So Joe was an old family friend. Dad and him worked together. Went over there. That worked out for a few years. Really cool part of the journey because I got to learn how to like just do cutlass on the saw, pulling metal, learning part numbers, running punch dies. And probably the best part at the time, I didn't think that, but the best part was they didn't have a CNC machine. They had a
Right.
massive wall of jigs, right? So like you needed your butt hinges done on a door. You'd go find the jig. You wait in line because two other people had the jig.
Yeah.
Scribe out your butt hinges, take them over to the mill, learn to have
Nice.
steady hands, X, Y axis, Z, all that stuff. And then, just kind of developed into custom hardware, learn how to do all that by hand. We got a CNC machine, learn how to program that, moved on, went back to Trainer for a little while. Then they went through what they went through. I left
Right.
about a month before they went down. I was on Museum Tower doing swing stage work. That was pretty fun.
Oh boy.
Um,
Yeah.
PM training position. So, and then after that, I went to US Aluminum for about the next 9.5 years, where I spent
Okay.
time in CNC programming, production engineering role for about 4 years, working with some of the Sierra Lawrence folks out in California. Got into running the production floor, plant management a bit.
Nice.
Then got a great opportunity to go into sales, and then it was kind of like no looking back.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because I mean, I knew you had an aluminum background because we have a mutual friend, Jeff Sishi. So I knew you
Yeah.
came from
Oh,
that
Jeff.
side
Yeah.
of the world.
Yep.
But I did not realize the depth of it, and I kind of always thought you were more salesy than manufacturing at the end of the day. So it's pretty interesting how wide and how complete your career is at this point with being in all parts of the business.
Yeah, yeah. No, manufacturing I think is like in my blood at this point. So, which is really cool because I think it lends itself to sales. Don't matter what you do, I think you got to learn, the work is done, right?
Yeah.
Like before you can really go into it and be of value to customers. So I wouldn't change. I wanted to move and climb the ladder as fast as I could, right? So I was super impatient.
Yeah.
I guess hindsight, I'm looking back, I'm like, I was pretty patient for certain period of times, but I was at the same time, I was like, dude, I'm ready. I want to climb the ladder. I want to get in that next big position. I want the big pay raise. I want all the things, right? And But I look back, I'm like, man, I wouldn't change that for the world, because I wouldn't know what I know now. The jig story, like,
Yeah.
the old school ways, like a lot of places don't work that way anymore. So, and everyone's spoiled by CNC machines and the work doing it for them. And man, it really is just a blessing to have that in my background, because it's made me uh, a little deadly in what I do today, I guess. So,
Well, yeah, because it gives you that extra oomph. I guess I would say is because sales is morphed beyond, and you're in business development. We'll talk about that in a second. Is morphed
sure.
beyond the whole drop off a box of donuts and check
Yeah.
on how the person's daughter or son are doing in school,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for more technical. They're looking for more resource, and because you touched it and felt it and handled it, and you've been on a swing stage and on a sky rise,
Mm-hmm.
you could talk, pretty intelligently about it. So I think that gives you probably a little bit of an advantage. So I'm glad you see that your path made sense.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's been a good one.
Awesome. Well, speaking of the path, when I set this up, you were not at Country Glass, but you
No.
had told me, you said, "Hey, I'm moving to Country Glass. Do you want to drop me from the podcast list?" And it was I just had Brian Reisinger on from Country
Mhm.
Glass, and I'm like, I can't do that to you. You
Yeah.
broke out the time. I like you. So Country Glass is a favorite of mine, and I wear their gear, religiously. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a pseudo member of the team. But
Yeah.
anyway, congrats on going to Country Glass with great people. How's it been so far? It's only been like a month or so, right? It's been a really short time.
Not even like 3 weeks, but it's already flying by. Man, it's such a blessing. So, I mean, Lord works in mysterious ways. Timing just feels weird sometimes. You're like, I just don't get it. Like, why is this door closing right now? Why is this one open?
Right.
And I've always been a big fan of Brian and Christy's business. They've just kind of on the outside looking in. That's something that, like, kind of the cool thing about being on the manufacturer side is I get to call in a lot of different glazing shops, big, small, right, chucking a truck, whatever
Yep.
it is, right. And you get to see a lot of different cultures. And something I always admired about Country was just you go in and you call on them, and just like the attitudes and the camaraderie. And it was like, man, like the core values here, like a lot of people put them on the wall and they put them in the handbook and they send them out in the email blast and all the things they post about it on LinkedIn. But it's like, there's like no pun intended, there's no facade here, man. Like,
No.
this is the real deal. We live it out. And like now being here for a few weeks, I'm like, man, you got your brothers and sisters to your left and right. And it's like, we're all like, we wear those on our sleeve, man. It's tattooed on the chest. Like, it's pretty cool. So I'm super excited to be here.
I love it. I love that you're there. I love that you're there. I got Mike DeFrank with me, Director of Business Development at Country Glass. They're at countryglassdfw.com. And your biz dev title is exciting because it allows you to kind of get out there and do things. But I got to ask, the market's a little soft right now. How is it? How do you feel being a development guy in the middle of a little bit of a softer market?
So and I say this with like no knock on the past, right? But
Right.
like, there were times, and I'm sure anyone working for like a big company can feel that at times. But there were times it felt like I was fighting with like one hand behind my back, whether that be some internal issues or not having the right resources in place. And for me personally, right, there's just maybe always a little bit of a lack of alignment. There was a couple employers along the way where I felt like we really were like seeing eye to eye, and like what I desire to do for the business, we shared the same vision, right? But it couldn't be more clear where I'm at now. So we've got some really cool tools like available just with our business, right? With NACCA, GMT.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We've got a couple other certifications that obviously work a little bit to our advantage. But I mean, from a market standpoint and it being soft, I mean, there's no mistake. And like DFW is a pretty hot market.
It still
We
is,
rank
yes.
pretty high. I don't say that with a big head, but it's not to say that like there's just business out there for the taking. But I think what's kind of refreshing for me is I go driving down the highway, and you call it count the cranes or whatever you want, but there's always another sign planted in the ground, another building start going on. And I'm kind of kicking myself because I'm like, dude, I didn't even know about that one. Like, why didn't I get that ITB?
Right.
And then I look and I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that GC before, right? And that doesn't mean that I need to pick up the phone and call them right away. But there's a lot of optimism when you cruise up and down the highways and you're just like, man, like, there's work out here. We're
Yeah.
going to have to grind to get it. So we're going to work our tails off. But like, if we want it bad enough, we can go get it. So
I
like,
love it.
I feel like those opportunities in other markets too. I'm sure of it, but we are in a great place right now, and just the state of Texas, it's thriving pretty well. We got people moving in here by the drove, so
Good deal.
man, it's
Good,
yeah,
good. And you got the hunger. You need the hunger. You need the drive.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's the big piece. Very cool. Very cool. I love it. All right, a fun one. Breaking up the podcast every episode and every guest. I usually break it up with a fun question for you, my friend. Curious, especially coming from the Dallas area. I'll be very curious to see what you say. Favorite musical group or favorite style of music?
Dude, that's such a loaded question.
It is. It is. It can go so many different ways.
So I don't think I can pick literally just one group.
That's fine.
It's funny is like while I do have like the same taste in work, I guess, like his dad, like I didn't grow up in a musical household, right?
Okay.
So played percussion in high school, really like started to find this love for drums. Thought I was pretty good, wasn't that great, but like I just like quickly, I think like when I didn't get much guidance on musicals, so, like journey. So it was like I kind of fell in love with like hard rock and metal pretty quick.
Nice. Okay.
So like scoring the Metallica album and like hiding it in the drawer in the room. And I remember the Deftones album, White Pony, my dad taking that one away. Like I remember all this stuff, right? Like he was pretty strict, but I still have a pretty strong love, I guess, for like hard rock and metal. Like I don't think I could work out to anything else, but
Right.
like good old, like I think probably if I was going to pick one genre, it'd be like they call it red dirt country, man. It's like all the country artists that are kind of, Dallas is quite a scene. The state of Texas is.
Yes.
We've had some really good musicians come up, and because I have kind of like the love for rock. I mean, I used to go to like Warped Tour concerts back in the day, like
Nice.
the punk scene, like that was a big part of like high school and stuff. But there's like there's a lot of artists like Co Wetzel and Cody West and like Flatland, a lot of these other guys, like they're a little softer, but like a little more traditional country there. But there's kind of like this alternative spin on it, so it's a little bit of like this like southern rock / country. So man, I'm like, man, that's like the perfect genre for me, I think.
I love it.
It's just a good mix of like country and rock. So
See, I had a feeling the country would play, and I love hearing the rock, and I love how you had to hide things, because it was back in the day, especially when it first came out, people were aghast, over that sort of stuff. So I love it. Very cool. Very cool.
I will say like something I have to temper myself with, right? Because like metal can get pretty far out there. So like it's just like I got a love for the Lord, so I try my best to like temper it with like just some good lyrics behind it. So I'm not like a death metal kind of dude, but I'm like a sucker for a good double bass, like a good like guitar riff and stuff. So like that'll really like set it off for me. So, but I do try and balance it with some good old worship in there too.
Good.
So a big fan of like that kind of music as well. So.
Yeah. Well, two things. One, I wish I could be a drummer. That is one thing that I wish I could do. I'll never be able to do it, but I love watching drummers because it's amazing. And second is never watch a music video with the closed captioning on, because then you actually see the words that they're saying. And some of them are like the message is completely different. I mean,
didn't need to know this.
Didn't need to know that. Didn't need to know that at all. I can't remember the song, but I was on the treadmill yesterday and I had it on YouTube, and the wording came up, and I went, "Oh, yeah, this is not what I thought. I like the music, but no, I'm not liking these words."
100%.
So yeah, very cool, very cool. A couple more questions for my friend Mike DeFrank, Director of Business Development at Country Glass. See them online at countryglassdfw.com. They got a hot new logo too, so you can check that out as well. You've played, like we talked about your past, you've played in a lot of different products. You've also played a little bit on the residential side too. So, I mean, you've really kind of, had your feel for. With that, what products should our industry be paying more attention to? What has caught your eye here recently?
Man, I mean, like, I feel like just a broken record here in a way, but like everyone wants to talk about glass handrail. And I really do think it's the industry is kind of ripe for it from just like a glazer's perspective. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that are going after those scopes, but there's also a good chunk that are not. So I think, and I best I can determine after talking to a lot of glass houses is it's just maybe like an intimidation, like they're just kind of like fear of the unknown. Never really touched the scope before. There's other guys out there in the marketplace that'll go direct to GC. But man, I found that the GCs are begging for options these days for some of those specialty kind of scopes that do involve glass. So it's like, man, why not learn it like anything else you've learned over the years? Get into this pretty lucrative scope. So I think that's a big one. And I think the other for me would be while I'm down in the South and really we just kind of care about solar heat gain, but
Yeah.
like from a thermal performance standpoint, there's all these aging buildings around here, right? So like just looking at just kind of the reprogram or the reskin retrofit kind of options, there's some really cool products that are coming to market out there, including like BIG and
Hmm.
Freemark's got some of those cool like curtain wall back member adapters, and like you're getting huge efficiency gains on these properties. So it's just like I think those kind of products are like just just like hot, and they're going to become hotter.
Good. Well, and what's interesting is I think the day, and I don't know if it'll ever happen anyway, the day that DFW slows up, the big thing is there's so many buildings that were built in the 80s that
Yeah.
need retrofitted and replaced. Those big old-fashioned reflective, buildings that are downtown and around the area. They all need reskinned. They all, and so I think you're onto something about the retrofit angle. Is going to be a big business,
Yeah.
just a matter of time there.
Yep. Yep. There's, I mean, it's happening. You're seeing it with different aging properties. I was part of a pretty big high rise one. I worked at JRB called Energy Plaza. That was a 49 story adaptive reuse that happened in downtown Dallas, where we opened up the corners and created residential tower basically from floor 7 all the way up, and then had some mixed use and retail and restaurant and office space going down on the bottom. And it's pretty amazing to see what they did with that building and what they turned it into from just this old office.
That's a big
So
piece. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big piece. I love it. I love it. With your past, again, this is a fun one for me, at least to pick your brain on. What have we gotten better at industry wise? I mean, you brought up two classic industry names in Trainer and Arch Aluminum, and what do we still need to do better? So what have we gotten better at, and what's still on tap for us as an industry to get better?
I think you could kind of use one. Again, it's kind of just beating the same drum, but I think it's really around training and education. I think, like I'm personally seeing it where I'm at. Of course, there's always ways we can be better. But I see, again, kind of going back to, I've had the ability to go call on a lot of different glass shops, and you still go into a lot of shops that really kind of lack that open-mindedness attribute, and they just don't. That it's kind of the old way, and I'm not totally against it, right? Where like they throw you with the old crusty foreman out there, and you choose your butt from
Right.
sun up to sundown, right? And you learn like you kind of come out with a pretty decent work ethic.
Yes, you
But
do.
we got a different generation of people coming up, so like I don't know that those old ways are really going to remain tried and true. I feel like we're going to have to continue to invest in employees, and that's not just like we've got, we're working through the NACC and the AGMT, which is super cool, starting to see the specifications even better.
Yep.
But I still think the ones I saw over the years that were really thriving, they developed their own internal kind of training program, right? So like this mentorship program, whatever it wasn't outside those 4 walls, but you could tell like the caliber of people that they had, and then some of the retention that they had was beyond the guy that I drive down the street, and they were just kind of stuck in those old ways.
Yep.
And then you hate to see it, but then like the inevitable happens over the years. They just won't change. They stop getting any decent talent. And then the next thing you drive by or you hear from somebody in the industry, and they're like, yeah, like they shut the doors or they sold or whatever it was, right? And it wasn't like for good reasons.
Right. The evolution's so important, and I agree with you on the training and education. I know the country obviously has their own little training center there, and Brian and Christy have made investments in that, and I think it's a big piece, and I do think that from the past. I mean, you look at 2006, 2007, 2008. We didn't have my glass class. We didn't have anything like that. We didn't have.
It was just starting then, because Trainer actually rolled that out, and I remember sitting in that break room when I really didn't give a dang about any of it, and I had certificates this tall, and I like probably retained about 10% of what it was, but it was just rolling out, and they were kind of adapting to it
Yeah.
at the time. It was fresh then, man.
Yeah, so it's come a long way. Come a long way. One more
Yeah.
question from Mike DeFrank, Director of Business Development at Country Glass. See them online, countryglassdfw.com. You've only been at Country a short time. We talked a little bit about like the DFW market and your feel. Still, you do get around. I know that you have friends in other places. Obviously, you've handled some other things outside of Texas. What's your feel for the economy, for the rest of the year and then into 2026? Any gut feeling, good, bad, otherwise?
Man, That's tough. I mean, right? Like you're in the business of trying to like help us better understand and forecast yourself. So I don't know that I could provide a better answer than you, but man, I mean, we all look at the same indexes, right? Like the ABI and the DMI and kind of try and think we know what's coming. And kind of all I know is what I know around here, right? So like I can't speak for everyone else's market. I mean, obviously, like all the tariff fun we've been reading and experiencing, and price increases, and we're getting the same letters everyone else is, so that sucks.
Yeah.
When you're especially when you're in the midst of like a project pursuit, about to close the deal, and then you're getting hit with these escalations, so that's not fun. And trying to kind of work with a general contractor that maybe doesn't want to work with you in that way, right. So that's that's the reality. But man, I think I don't know. I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I think it kind of goes back to we can make a lot of excuses, and it's not necessarily like not focused on what's really happening out there in the world globally that's impacting our industry, but at the same time, like we're just gonna have to grind a little bit harder to get it. And I think as long as we're ready to buckle down and get after it and keep pursuing those opportunities relentlessly, then like it'll all work out. We've gone through downturns before. It'll come back. It always does.
Yeah. So. We are a resilient industry, and we are a resilient people. So I do think that we can handle anything, but it's been in some places it's been a pretty tough 2025 so far. And
I think being strategic is really important, right? So like you got to, something I practice, and I think, pretty common practice in business is just trying to really be intentional about the opportunities you go after, right? Just not taking every project that comes your way, right? Like the good old saying, the best job you never won, right? So
right.
It's just trying to make sure that guy that worked with us, very wise man, John Bent. I don't know if you know him. Used to be ex-president of EFCO.
Yep.
Brilliant man. I mean, he sat with us in a meeting. Such a simple statement, but one time he's just like, "Hey guys, you got to start choosing your customer and not let them choose you." And it was just like, light bulb. That's pretty smart, right? Didn't think of that one. So it was just a good reminder, and I kind of hold that one with me. Is just like, man, we got to be really strategic about who we go after, what type of projects we go after, what's going to be more market resilient than others, and really kind of the vetting process needs to be a little more detailed and a little more refined right now than maybe it was before, so that we're not, we only have a finite amount of resources, right? And that's for every glazing firm out there. There's only so many estimating hours in the day. Your project managers can only take so much crap on a job, so it's just like you gotta be very smart about the projects you go after. So I think as long as we focus on that, it goes for anyone else out there, right? Like we'll probably make the better choices, which will set us up for success. So.
Love it. Well said. So this was great. I'm glad I got to talk to you. Well, I see you at Glass Build. Will you make an appearance in Orlando?
100%. Yeah. B's already getting all the things in place for that, so we will be there. Yes, sir.
I look forward to seeing you in person. Thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Likewise.
Congratulations again on Country Glass, and best to you going forward.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much to Brady Nails and to Mike DeFrank. Great guys. They're going to be around a long time and huge for our industry. I really, really appreciate it. Also appreciate the gang from FHC. They support this podcast and this one as well. They've got a lot going on, and FHC is just not here to sell to the industry. They're here to support it, grow with it, and lead it forward. They're doing the right thing, folks. FHC-USA.com. Check them out, and do appreciate them. Last, as always, the TV choices. There's a Billy Joel documentary, 2 parts on HBO Max that should be pretty good. I will be watching that. I love Billy Joel, and so I'm very curious to see how that is. I'm a music buff too, so that'll be some good stuff. And then from the kind of the salacious side, maybe not so salacious, but kind of different, the series Trainwreck on Netflix. They've had some really good episodes. They're only usually about an hour. I think I talked about the one with Rob Ford, the former mayor of Toronto. One of the latest ones is called Poop Cruise, and it's about the Carnival Cruise Line in, I think, 2013 that had some serious issues. This is a great 1 hour documentary, and it's just mind-blowing what these people dealt with on this cruise ship. Lots of video, lots of interviews. Check it out. Trainwreck, Poop Cruise on Netflix. All right, that'll do it for me this time out. I'll be back here in a few weeks with another power-packed podcast. So I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Oh, the music is stopped.